Rise and shine, it's a brand new day. Ken can take the stage, ready to play. Weekdays at 10, the cars and the scene. Coffee in hand, they're living the dream. Question in the voice, got the whole town awake. Bringing fire to the mic, make no mistake. Shows in the corner, spitting out facts. Dropping truth bombs, ain't holding back. Ken in the morning, feel the heat. From 10 a.m. CST, can take a seat. We live and loud, that break in the mind. Light up your speakers, crank up the sound. They're talking about life upside down. Opinions exploded like a sonic blast. In the studio, they're built to last. With passion and grit, they engage and ignite. Every single week, they're a force can't fight. From sports to politics,
This is a Huddle Sports Network broadcast. You can find us on Roku TV, Amazon Fire TV, Facebook, and of course YouTube. Get all your NFL news here first.
Hey, good morning. Oh, here comes Joe. There we go. There's Joe. Good morning, everyone. Fred, you want me to put it here on? Is this okay, Fred? Oh, morning, Joe. How you doing today?
What's going on, dude?
Oh, it's Wednesday. The weeks go by so quick. We got some NFL news today. We do have some NFL stuff to talk about. Something that popped up kind of last minute. 5th-year option time. It's that time. Teams that have until May 1st to exercise their 5th-year option. Just figured you'd send it on people they drafted in the what was it, the 23 draft? Yep, 2023 first rounders. So figure we can go through some of that today, and we'll see who we think will get the 5th-year option and who won't.
Yeah.
Obviously, the number one pick of that year's draft was Bryce Young. His 5th-year option is $25.9 million. I would think they would. They're going to do that for Bryce Young.
Yeah. You would think, but I think that they'll try to get a deal done.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. So some of these guys, I agree that they'll get long-term deals done, but the teams will probably
they'll pick up the option just in case, right? Is what you're saying?
Yeah.
That makes sense. Pick up the option that way you have the whole another year to negotiate that contract, because it's going to be a big one. Like, even if Bryce Young doesn't really, he's probably not looking at Jordan Love money, but it's still going to be, a large contract, I would assume.
Hey, good morning, Broski.
What's up, Broski?
Gentlemen, how you guys doing today?
Good, and Fred, I agree with you.
Your option.
Good morning, Cam. Yeah, so we're talking 5th-year options. Broski.
Yeah.
First one's Bryce Young. I agree with Joe. I think they're going to try to do a long-term deal, but I think teams learned from the Ravens. So a guy like Bryce Young, they'll probably do the 5th-year option. Well, let's put it this way. Let's just not say yes or no. Let's say if they're going to do a long-term, we'll count them as a yes as well, right? Because it's that decision point, right? So it's
Sure.
5th-year op. They're going to, they have until May 1st. Hey, you got a Monty jersey. Got to wear it 2 times to get my money back.
Yeah, I was going to say, good topic for our show today, man, because what you're talking about Bryce Young specifically, that's like a hot topic here in Charlotte, man, because people are surprised the team hasn't exercised his 5th-year option yet, which, like you said, yeah, it means one of two things. They're either maybe trying to get like a long-term or, an extension done, or they're actually trying to look to move him. Yeah. And obviously you don't want to exercise the 5th-year option, before trading him, because the team who acquires him would want that option themselves to make that determination themselves, I would think.
If they trade him, I don't think that the new team gets that option. I think that option is only for the team that drafts you.
Well, let's look it up.
I think when Fields got traded to the Steelers, they had the 5th-year option and they declined it, if I'm not mistaken.
Let's look it up. Google is our friend.
Yeah, I am.
Or Grok or whatever.
But But
I've heard the
regardless,
same thing, though. See, I've actually like heard that there's a possibility like that the Panthers are actually looking at next year's quarterback class kind of
yeah,
greedily and saying like, you know what, like Bryce Young, he has made improvements, but he's not the guy to get us there. So like, and it would be a good move. I'm not saying they should, but I'm saying if they were trying to trade Bryce Young, his value's never been higher. He's coming off a playoff run. He went from, a guy that people wondered if he was going to wash out of the league in his first 3 years to now all of a sudden, there's a team out there that's willing to take a chance on him, I think.
yeah. One of the characterizations of him, some people here call him a first overall pick, but they call him a stopgap quarterback, even though he's a first overall pick, just because of that reason that you mentioned, Joe. They might be eyeing up quarterbacks next year, but also he wasn't brought in with Dave Canal as the current head coach. So he was actually under a different head coach, different GM as well. So at the time,
the fifth-year option does go with the trade. So if they're under the rookie contract, the team trading for him would be able to exercise the fifth-year option.
Yep.
So this is player 1 of 32. So I say this just for time constraint, guys.
Sure, go down the list. Good topic.
Yeah, we don't want to spend 30 minutes on Bryce Young. We could probably, maybe we'll do that tomorrow. But yeah, so Bryce Young though, he's probably, let's put this way, Bryce Young, he's going to be in the league, right? He's not done. CJ Stroud, he's number 2, the second overall pick. He's obviously going to be, he's good. They're going to exercise it or sign him, I would think. I don't think he's in danger of not getting money.
Well, let me tell you this. Like, I was doing a mock draft, and it's worth right. I was doing a mock draft the other day, and I got offered by the Texans. I got offered CJ Stroud plus additional first round picks for that number 1 overall pick. Now, that's not the Texans offering, like the actual Texans offering it, but I just found that interesting because it's not often that you see somebody put their franchise quarterback up to get the number 1 overall pick, like even in the mock drafts.
Once again, though, even with that, under that, if let's say that trade were to happen in that scenario, wouldn't he then become he's going to get money, right? He's going to get paid because you're trading the number 1. He's you're trading the number 1 overall pick for him in a haul. So that would mean he's your next quarterback for the next 2 to 3 years, probably.
Yeah. I didn't take the trade.
Yeah.
But I'm just, it was tempting though, because I actually like Stroud, and I don't think that Houston has really maximized his potential. But
and Stroud's fifth-year option is worth $25.9 million. And let me do some other housekeeping notes on this so people understand too. So okay, here's when I give a dollar amount, here's how it's figured out. Okay, the fifth-year option salaries are determined by a blend of performance and usage-based benchmark. If you're a 2-time Pro Bowler, excluding being an alternate, you earn the same as their position's franchise tag. If you're a 1-time Pro Bowler, you earn the equivalent of the transition tag. Players who achieve any of the following receive an average of a third 20th top salary at their position. At least 75% snap rate in 2 of the first 3 seasons. A 75% snap average across all 3 seasons. At least 50% in each of the first 3 seasons. Players who not hit any of those benchmarks will receive the average of the third 25th top salary at their position. So that's where these numbers come from. If you guys are wondering, like, why does one guy get, like, in this case, both quarterbacks, their fifth-year option is 25.9. But you're going to see when we get to Anthony Richardson, who's number 4 on the list, we'll get them in a few minutes, his number is significantly lower. So there is a way that the NFL calculates what this is worth. But I think the first 2 guys on this list, those first 2 picks, are both either exercised or getting contracts. Would you guys agree with that?
Or traded.
Yeah, rumblings. There's CJ Stroud getting traded rumblings because they're really disappointed in how he's looked in the playoffs. Bryce Young, yeah, I don't know. Honestly,
but getting traded still means you're getting a contract somewhere, probably for an extension.
Yeah, for sure. They'll still be in the league, put it that way. Definitely somewhere.
Because there are some guys in the 5th-year option that won't be in the league, right? And those are going to be the ones that are going to be interesting. But guys like these two guys, I mean, I get the grumblings on both, right? And I kind of agree on the rumblings of both, But Bryce Young is harder for me in a sense that it started off really bad, but it's getting progressively better for Carolina with him. In the inverse, CJ Stroud came out like he
Bat
just
out of
came out
hell.
the gate, like a bat out of hell, and has declined some. And like Broski said, playoff performance hasn't been that good.
Right.
But then you got to look at what are the other pieces to look at, and of course, fans, we always do this. Oh, we don't like this guy, get rid of him. Cool, good story, but what are we replacing this bum with? This guy that we're calling a bum. What are we replacing him with? And in both these cases, for Carolina and the Texans, unless you're trading for the number 1 overall, or maybe the number 2 or the 3 overall, what are you replacing these guys with? Is there anything in the free agent market or that you're trading for that's going to be better than what you got? And honestly, right now for quarterback, that's a pretty tough sell because there's
Slim Pickens, right? Slim Pickens at quarterback right now. I'll tell you that. Some could argue that CJ Stroud's worst season, which was last year, is still better than Bryce's best season, which is last year, or close to it. Regardless, without diving into that too deep, your points are valid. I totally get what you're saying. And I know there's been a lot of talk too about two of the more popular guys who are up for 5th-year options this year, Jahmyr Gibbs and Bijan Robinson.
Oh yeah, we'll get to them. We'll get to the fact. In fact, let's get closer to getting those guys. Well, yeah, Bijan's up there too. Let's get to number 3 on the list because it's the Texans once again. Defensive end Will Anderson Jr. His 5th-year option is worth $21.51 million. Joe, do they extend him? Do they give him the 5th-year option? Do they extend him, or is he another trade candidate?
I think they pick up the option just so that they have the time to work out a long-term extension with him. Myself.
Absolutely, man. He had 12 sacks last year, 11 the year before, 7 his rookie year. He's been a Pro Bowler. I think he was an All-Pro, actually, maybe second team last year. Yeah, he's a stud.
And you know what? His 5th-year option is kind of commensurate with the going rate for a defensive end per year, right? For the most part, he's already in the ballpark with that. So the money for the extension won't have to be much more than the 5th-year option.
Well, and my thing is this: I'm a big thing with a lot of these guys. I think the teams are just going to exercise 5th-year option, and then I don't think they're going to give them multi-year contract extensions. I think they're going to kind of play out that rookie deal with the 5th-year option and then go from there.
Yeah,
because they can always franchise a guy. They can play out his 5 years on his rookie and then franchise him for a year.
Yeah. This next one's going to be easy. Anthony Richardson, his 5th-year option is 22.48. Like I said, you go to Bryce and CJ, 25.9. Now you go to Anthony Richardson, who doesn't meet a lot of criteria. 22.48 mil. I don't think they exercise a 5th-year option. I think he's gone.
Agreed.
That one was easier than we thought.
That was easy. He's not a good quarterback.
This one's easy because they've already exercised it. Devin Witherspoon, cornerback.
Yeah.
5 overall pick. His 5th-year option is worth $21.16 million, and it's been exercised, so we don't have to spend much time on him.
Yeah, he's a stud.
Number 6 on the 6th overall pick in that draft, left tackle Paris Johnson Jr. from the Cardinals. His 5th-year option is worth $19.07 million. Joe, what do you think?
Yeah, they're keeping him. In my opinion, he's been their best offensive lineman, and doesn't make sense to get rid of your franchise left. He's their left tackle, right?
Correct.
Yeah, that's what I thought. It doesn't make sense to get rid of your franchise left tackle unless he's absolute trash, and I haven't seen him be trash.
Yeah, I'm not as familiar with him, but Broski, what about you?
Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing. Like, I'm really not that familiar with how he's been playing. I believe he is their left tackle. I do know he has missed some games each of the last 2 seasons, if I'm not mistaken. Again, they probably do. It's hard to find a good left tackle. So if he's, even decent, they probably will.
Mhm.
Yeah, he's
Only because you don't want to have to add another thing that you need in the draft, right? Like, because they're picking, I think, third this year. Like, you don't want to,
so
now you're gonna have to turn around and use that pick on a left tackle. Like,
he is 43 game starts, not bad. He only had 12 last year, so he missed a little time. Yeah, he's. Let me see if we can see some his career. There we go. See if we can give me the stats. Um, I mean, yeah, his numbers for them it appears to be pretty good. I think he's gonna. And I haven't seen much on him, but it looks like he's gonna get picked up. It looks like he might get picked up. Yeah, some of these guys it's gonna be hard because we don't see much on them. This one will be interesting. This one, Joe's right in your wheelhouse. Defensive end Tyree Wilson for the Raiders, number 7 overall pick in 23. 14.48 million is his guarantee if he's for the 5th year. What are you hearing in Vegas?
I'm not hearing anything, but only from fans, and it's kind of split. Like, but 14.48 is I think a fair number because he can play defensive end and he can slide inside and play defensive tackle if we need him to. Like, for that ability, 14.4 doesn't seem unreasonable. But he's really this. I don't think he's going to get a long-term contract unless he balls out this year because he really hasn't lived up to that. And granted, the Raiders drafted him at 7. He didn't draft himself, so it's kind of on the Raiders. It's another, to me, it's another Cleveland Farrell situation where he's a serviceable player that just got overdrafted for. But we'll see if he balls
Well,
out this year. Then
Yeah, I'm not sure they do. It's a whole new regime. It's not the regime that drafted him. I don't believe from the GM to the head coach to almost anyone. So I'm not sure they do. To me, that's a coin flip.
I'm going to say yes, and here's why. More so than anything, they need to spend cap money still. So if they're going to retain him, if they're thinking he's good enough to retain with the deep changes made to the defense, he's worth. They still have a ton of money to spend. They have a ton of money to spend next year too, believe it or not. I think he gets it. Kind of like how maybe he gets overdrafted. The kid might just be lucky and might get the 5th year option just because they look at they need to spend the extra few bucks. Put it that way. And it doesn't look like they're going to go out and sign anyone else. So he might be the recipient of some good luck. Um, I think he might get it. I think he'll be one of those last second guys though. And look at just because you get and we've seen this happen before. We've seen guys get the 5th year option and then not get the extension and not get a big contract after. But they were
Mhm.
good enough to at least get that 5th year option and get that extra look. And I think he might fit into that category a little bit, especially with like the stuff that Broski you brought in. And Joe, you're right. It wasn't his fault. He got overdrafted, so to speak.
Mhm.
But they're in a position where they need to spend money. He fits a need. Looking
Well,
at the
yeah, because
board,
he's going to provide depth along that new defensive line,
yeah,
and I think there's also a possibility. Like Broski said, he thinks there's a real possibility that they decline the option. I think that is a possibility too. But I think if they do decline the option, there's a possibility that it's because they're going to sign him to an extension that's going to be actually less per year than that fifth
the
year
fourth,
option.
yeah.
Yeah, it'll be like a 3-year deal where he's making, let's say, 12 average per year or something.
All right, we're about a third of the way. Well, a little less than a third of the way through. And we're about what 20 minutes in, so some of these will pick up the pace on a little bit. This one is one that I'll go to Broski first because he mentioned it. At number 8, Bijan Robinson, the Falcons.
Yeah, good
Here's
one.
the amazing thing. The value of the fifth-year option is 11.32. That should tell you. Remember a couple years ago, we had the reset of the running back contract? A couple, like 4 or 5 years ago, that money would have been about 20 million. It's only 11 million, which I find interesting, Broski. What do you think they're going to do on Bijan?
Yeah, I mean, I think they exercise his 5th-year option in a heartbeat because right now that's a discount. But it kind of goes to this position's treated a little different than others for the simple fact this position takes more hits than any other position. So, in my opinion, I don't think it's a good idea to extend any running back who potentially has 2 years left on his contract due to that reason. It's very risky. We know running backs' careers are short lived. They take a ton of hits. So
3
if
to
there's a
5
way to
years.
be like, hey, we exercise your 5th-year option, you have 2 years left under contract. I mean, that's the route I'm going. And honestly, I'm going to say for Bijan and when we get to Gibbs, I would not be surprised if these teams franchise them after their 5th-year option. Now, would the player would be upset about it? Probably. Would the player still suit up and play? Yeah. So that's my 2 cents.
Joe?
I mean, yeah, I can see Broski's logic on that. I think they should look to sign him to an extension, but I do think Broski's logic makes sense about how if they do the option, he still has 2 years under contract. That gives him plenty of time to work out an extension and to see in the long. And they don't even have to really start a contract till next year. So,
Well, and if you look at guys who are past their initial contract, a guy like DeAndre Swift. What's Swift making? 8 million? And a 1,000-yard guy. Now look, at Bijan might be. People say, well, yeah, but Bijan is playing better right now. Okay, granted. But the running back market, like you guys, both have alluded to, is different. The hits, the life expectancy. And it was funny because Broski, as you were saying, I'm like, man, how lucky have the Bears been throughout our history that we seem to sign guys who far exceed the 3 to 4 year life expectancy of running backs. Right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, and people complain in Chicago a little bit about Swift, but then when you look at his production, you realize, well, actually, if you think about the guys in year 6, 7, or whatever it is, and he's still producing like that, damn, Chicago, what are you finding with these guys? Because the guys that some of the fan favorites the Bears have gotten rid of over the last couple of years, a year or two later, are usually out of the league. So the Bears have been pretty good about this, and a couple other teams have too. But I think Bijan, he looks like he's got a lot of tread on the tire, got a little gas in the tank. He hasn't had the big injuries yet. He's taking the hits with sometimes bad offensive line. I think they at minimum exercise, if not signed to some type of extension. But like I said, if you look at the money the running backs are getting on these long-term deals, the money that he's going to get on the 5th-year option is actually better than a lot of the starting running backs in the league. So he's still getting that top end money. So I think that they will, either extend him or do a smaller type of extension. But yeah, I kind of agree with Broski's initial take. That's extended, then maybe a franchise tag, and that may be the way that teams work to a certain degree with running backs. I think it's either franchise tag or you get the 3-year extension, right? I think Broski I think Bijan might be leaning more towards the capability of getting the 3-year extension versus going the franchise tag route because he's been so durable so far.
Yeah, I mean, hey, it's a possibility, and we all know he's a heck of a running back. And I'm going to throw this out there, and I know I mentioned it for some other guys. It is a completely new regime there. I'm talking like new team president, new GM, new assistant GM, new head coach. So yeah,
there's a lot of guys, but I mean, running back though, a little different than quarterback though. Yeah, like the new regime thing doesn't necessarily affect other position groups like it does the quarterback.
I agree.
The next guy on the list, taking number 9 overall, where the Bears got paid to let the Eagles take them. The Bears got a 6th-round pick, if I remember correctly, to flip picks with the Philadelphia Eagles because the Bears were originally at 9. And the Eagles took defensive tackle Jalen Carter, whose fifth-year option is 25.13 mil. Remember, Jalen Carter was Chicago felt that, hey, we're going to pass on him and do this trade. A, because we wanted to draft a different position group, but B, there was also concerns, if you guys remember, about Jalen Carter, who had some court cases pending with reckless driving, DUI, whatnot. And so the Eagles jumped up and took Jalen Carter, who last year, of course, gets suspended for spitting in Dak Prescott's face. But his fifth-year option is $25.13 million at defensive tackle. Look, I think this one's a no-brainer. The dude's been a stud for the Eagles. But the Eagles do let studs walk, which is also the weird thing about the Eagles. But at $27 million, yeah, I think he's probably worth the fifth-year option that they maybe look to extend. But at minimum, they give him the fifth-year option. What do you think, Joe?
Normally, I would agree with you, but there's already been smoke this offseason that the Eagles are looking to move him, which tells me that there's, the Eagles, they have plenty of studs, but they also like to hang on to certain guys. But the fact that they're looking to shop him tells me that there's like something going on, like character-wise, that they're less than impressed with. And so I don't know if they want to really invest the money in him. Like, I think there's a chance that he'll be traded, and then whatever team he goes to will pick up the option. So he'll probably get the option picked up. But also, I just want to say, let's not all be hypocrites here. We've all wanted to spit in Dak Prescott's face.
Oh, whoa, how did Dak? Oh, okay, I got you. Yeah, good one.
Joe,
Joe, that was pretty funny. You got me there for a second. I didn't think about that. I'm like, oh shit.
And Joe brings up a good point, Broski. Is like having that fifth-year option. If your team, let's say you want to trade him to the Bears because the Bears need defensive tackle help, and for the Bears that doesn't look that bad because hey, we could get him for 2 years on a relatively cheap deal.
Yeah,
still team friendly. So, and the Eagles are a little weird with the way they because look, they've gotten rid of some absolute studs who are still studly when they went to new teams for quite some time. So he's an interesting case, but I think in one way, shape, or form, he gets that option / extension picked up.
Yeah, and something else just to add real quick about Jalen Carter and Darnell Wright. So Jalen Carter, it's almost like the CJ Stroud thing. His best season was his rookie year, and he's gotten worse. He's had worse seasons each season after that. Darnell Wright, the exact opposite. He's gotten better each season. Yeah, Darnell Wright was All-Pro second team last year, and guess what?
Since you wanted to go there, I'll let you finish the thought in a second. Because you went there a bit early on me. Broski always going for that little extra, get me ahead of
I'm eager.
I'm telling you, because he wanted to get to that number 110 pick at right tackle, Darnell Wright. His fifth-year options worth $19.07 million. Broski, run with it.
Under 20 mil for a potential All-Pro first team right tackle. Yeah, I'm taking that deal and jumping up and down. I'm thrilled. And like I said, he's gotten better each year. He was All-Pro second team last year. And guess what? If Penei Sewell moves to left tackle, which it smells like he might, dude, Darnell Wright doesn't have Penei Sewell to compete with for All-Pro first team anymore. He could very well be All-Pro first team next year. Lock Darnell Wright in. I would exercise that option. I would consider I would exercise it and see how he plays this year. And he would be one of those guys. If he plays well again like that this season, maybe you just tear that up and say, dude, we're scrapping your fifth-year option. We exercised it, but we're gonna give you this extension now because he's a right tackle. To me, that's much less risky than a running back or a questionable quarterback.
Yeah. Going back real quick just to Jalen Carter, I think that prospect of Jalen Carter to the Bears is interesting because they had a chance to draft him but didn't. But if the Eagles were looking to move off of him, you're picking at what, 25, 26, something like that.
Yeah.
If they wanted the 26 pick for him, if it was me, I would give it up. I think what he does for your defense instantly is worth that pick.
Did I just start a rumor with a hypothetical what if that wasn't even put much thought into, Broski? Maybe.
No, it's been kicked around. He's out there for trade. It's definitely been floating around out there for a little bit. But yeah, I don't think I would trade the 25th overall pick for him because I don't think his play on the field has warranted it the last 2 seasons. Now, if you're talking a second or third, maybe. But dude, I don't like how he is, who he is. I don't like players like that on my team personally.
For me, Darnell Wright, I'm locking him in though. Getting
Mhm.
back to the topic there, I'm gonna lock Darnell Wright in. Jalen Carter to the Bears, that'll have to be a tomorrow thing. So we got a half hour left, and over half the draft class is still to go.
Let's keep trucking.
Yeah. But no, I'm locking Darnell Wright in at the
Yeah.
19 mil for the
Fuck
fifth year
yeah.
option, and he might be one of those. And look at for if you're gonna do an extension, you're giving about $1 million raise, right? Because the going rate's about 20 mil. So yeah, you're pretty good for the next 2 years with Darnell Wright. The guy at number 11 was a guy that look at a lot of Chicago people were looking at too because he played at Northwestern. Uh, at guard, Peter T-Rex Arms Skoronsky with the Titans at 19.007 mil, the same amount of money as Darnell Wright. I know that I remember during the draft that Broski had some feelings about the former Northwestern Wildcat. What do you think about him now, Broski?
Yeah, so he is again. He's their starting guard, correct? He's not a tackle. He plays guard.
Yeah.
And he's one of those guys. I really just don't have a true gauge on how he's performed. Ken, I mean, maybe you can kind of clue me in on that, but I honestly, it's almost like the Paris Johnson one. I'm really not too familiar how he's been playing there.
Put it this way, like I know more about Paris Johnson than I do about Skoronsky. I know that he was like highly touted coming out but they were going to switch him to guard because of his arm length. But
Yep.
and maybe I'm being a little bit unfair because since I don't have his personal numbers, I'm just judging him on how that entire Titans offensive line has played the last couple years. Like, if it's me, I don't know if I want to pay him 19 million, dude. Like,
He had
Yeah,
some
one thing-
injury he had some injury issues early, but I think last year he made the whole year without an injury. They did move him to guard. From watching the few games I have watched in the red zone time where I've seen their offense on the field, I don't recall him being a Swiss cheese lineman. Like he's been pretty, like one of the more solid pieces to their line. I don't know whether he gets a fifth year option or he gets because remember, look at the fifth year option for a guy like him might not happen because it's 19 million, but he could get an extension where he's worth 15 million, less than the fifth year option.
Sure.
And we see that happen. And now we're getting further into the list. There are more players we might see that with.
Yeah.
I think he gets retained in the Titans. I just don't know if it's for the fifth year option.
That's a good call. And I just like pulled his career stats up or whatever. He actually played all 17 games the last 2 seasons in a row. So, again, that's the scenario you're laying out might very well be what happens.
The next one's the one we've been waiting for too, because it was a surprise
Mhm.
when the Lions did it. A lot of Lions fans were very pissed off about this.
They
because
were.
They had DeAndre Swift on the roster, and look, I enjoy Swift now as a Bear. I can understand why they were mad at the time. And a lot of people called it a luxury pick, but it worked out for Ben Johnson. He was the architect and knew what he wanted. Because remember, they signed. You got to remember they had just signed a week before David Montgomery. So they had Monty and Swift, and people were like, "Ooh, wow, they're going to have a great running back tandem." And then they go and they draft Jahmyr Gibbs, whose fifth year option is 14.29 mil. So you want to talk about Bijan earlier, much higher number than Bijan, who got drafted. Remember, Bijan was the generational running back whose fifth year option is now 11.3. Well, here comes Jahmyr Gibbs, whose fifth year option is 14.2. Look at, I think if the Lions don't give him a fifth year option, there'll be pitchforks and torches out in front of Lions headquarters.
Yeah.
He's being retained. I don't think.
Yeah. And shout out to the Lions for this facade they like to have. They like to live by. That they develop such a great culture and this and that, and everyone wants to go play for them. When it's only happened 6 times I think in NFL history, and 3 of them were with the Lions. That they're trying to recoup bonuses for players for Hall of Fame players who have freaking left their team. What a kick in the nuts by the Lions. What bad optics. What a scumbag move. That being said, Jahmyr Gibbs, to me, him and Bijan and Saquon when he's healthy, they're the best running backs in the league. I always loved Jahmyr Gibbs. Like when he was in the draft, I was like, damn, he's like a Chris Johnson, Jamal Charles hybrid. Like he's going to be so nasty, and he is. And that being said, he's a running back. No chance I'm giving him an extension now. I would absolutely exercise his 5th-year option, and he'd be one of those guys I could see like playing out his 5-year rookie deal and then getting franchised year 6.
Joe?
Again, like I respect Brosie's logic, and I think it makes perfect sense. But if I'm the Lions, he's one of the cornerstone pieces, and I'm gonna go ahead and just lock him up to an extension. I'm gonna activate the option so I have time to work out his extension. To me, he might be the most electric running back in the league. Like, he may not have like he may not have those crazy like Saquon, jump backwards kind of plays, but every time he touches the ball, he's a danger. Like
He's a corner piece of their offense right now.
I agree, and I think and he really hasn't had injury issues. Like
Minor compared.
yeah,
to-
he hasn't had like the big injuries that you would expect to, or that would like derail a career. So I think the Lions are going to look to keep him long term.
Another interesting one now at number 13. We got about over half to go and less than half the show left, so we'll have to pick up the pace, gents. Defensive end Lucas Van Ness for the Packers at $3.75 million.
3.75.
Yep.
Oh, you take that all day.
Yeah, they're hurting on the D line right now. And I don't think he's a good player, but I think they will exercise his 5th-year option because they need bodies right now,
Mhm.
Yep.
and they're going to need bodies.
Have we seen the jack wagon yet this morning? There's a user
haven't.
here. Left tackle Broderick Jones for the Steelers at number 14 at $19.07 million. So look at similar career as Darnell Wright. You can tell with some of these guys that we're not as familiar with where they sit in terms of what they've played because of this cap number, right? Or because of this 5th-year option number. His 5th-year option number is the same as Darnell Wright, meaning he's been a cornerstone at left tackle for the Steelers. I think they pick up or re-sign.
Yeah, I believe they did move him to right tackle, and I don't know if he's kind of going back and forth between those two last year. He did miss some games last year. That being said, it's hard to find good bookends, so I think they're going to. I think they'll exercise his 5th-year option.
Agree.
All right, next guy on the list, defensive end Will McDonald, New York Jets. I can already answer this. We'll make this one quick. They've already announced it's going to be exercised at $13.75 million. So that one's easy.
Boom.
We got a couple like that already been noted that they are exercised. So Will McDonald will get picked up for the Jets at $13.75.
Oh, good. He can go buy that farm. EIEIO.
That's right. The next one for the Los Angeles Rams. The 5th-year options worth $12.63 million, and it's corner Emmanuel Forbes.
Well,
This one is trickier.
that one, I would be lying to you if I said I actually knew much about this guy at all. Because I really don't.
Well, I mean, look at they just bought Kansas City's cornerback tandem.
Yeah, maybe they punt on him.
He might not get the 5th-year option picked up. I might think.
Yeah,
They just brought in 2 guys.
For me to not even have heard of his name in the last 3 years, yeah, they might be willing to punt on him.
Which is crazy because, coming out in the draft, he was highly touted. I remember him coming out in the draft, and I was like, that's a guy. I thought he was going to be a guy. So
I've heard his name here and there. He's had some plays, but I think 5th-year option wise, dude, they just went out and traded and extended and signed both guys from Kansas City. That's the writing on the wall, I think.
yeah, exactly.
On him.
Writing's on the wall.
But you know what, though? He's not a bad player, so he will pick up somewhere, I think. Another one that's going to be exercised at the Patriots Here's the difference in cornerbacks. The last cornerback we had, their fifth-year options was worth 12.63 for Forbes. Christian Gonzalez's fifth-year options were 18.12. By the way, the pages have already said they are going to exercise. That made that simple. But that's the difference in cornerback money. So that kind of also tells you for Forbes, he hasn't even earned that higher dollar amount, which means he hasn't had as much value to the Rams in the first 3 years. So we can move on. We got 20 minutes left. Moving down the list is the Detroit Lions yet again. At number 18, linebacker Jack Campbell. His fifth-year options were $21.93 million.
They'll absolutely exercise his fifth-year option, and again, I don't expect them to proactively do an extension for him or Gibbs. I think they're just going to let him play out their fifth
That seems
years.
like the Lions' way too. What do you think?
Right?
Joe? Yeah.
21 is expensive for a linebacker. If it was me, like I'm trying to work out an extension because Jack Campbell is a huge part of your defense. Like you want to keep him, but 21 million is a lot of money for a linebacker. You could get him for half that, like, you know, and that's like the good linebackers in the NFL are making 12, 13, you know, like the top of the top guys might make 15. Like that to me, that's an overpay. So I would say they try to work on an extension.
Devin Bush was just signed by the Bears on a 3-year contract worth $30 million. And so, you know, I don't know who's better, Devin or Jack, but that's a good inclination. I mean, even Edmonds, when his deal, he was overpaid. He got a good contract on day one of free agency, and it wasn't even that much money. So I kind of agree with you on Jack Campbell. 21, almost 22 million, way too much.
The only thing I'll throw out there for him, he was all pro first team last year. He had 5 sacks, like 4 forced fumbles or something like that. Like he's turned into a hell of a player.
And I knew he would. Dude, I was pounding the table for Jack Campbell, but the Lions drafted him at 18. I was hoping he would fall into the second round so the Raiders could get him, but he's a great player. I just don't. If you look at positional market value, like linebackers just don't make 21 million. That to me, that's just crazy to pay him that.
22. It's 21.9, 21.93. So I mean, you're right there at 22. I think I kind of agree with both of you. I look at the Lions have some cap money to spend too. Let's not forget that. I think they pick up the 5th-year option, try to do a deal where you make significantly less than 22 mil a year. Because I kind of agree with Joe that market-wise, the position is an overpay. But I agree that he's big for the Lions defense, and they need to retain him. He's a big. He's gonna be interesting. Watch that one. That's gonna be a fun one to watch. JB might have something to say about that on the Lions show after us. We're in the last third of the show. We're in the last third of the draft. All right, we're back on track a little bit. This one interesting too because you look at the money again. Defensive line, Khaled Casey, Buccaneers, $14.48 million is his 5th-year option.
Yeah, Kalijah Kancey. I think they'll exercise his 5th-year option.
Yeah.
Well, this next one's super easy because he just got a huge extension.
Yeah.
Jackson Smith-Njigba.
Yeah.
We only hit his 5th-year option just for those who want to know, which is going to be interesting when we talk about a couple other, because we've got a run of wide receivers in this draft. JSN went, his 5th-year option would have been worth 23.85. He just signed the big extension. The next guy on the list at 21 for the Chargers was Quentin Johnston. His 5th-year options were 18 mil. What do you guys think about Quentin Johnston?
I think they definitely pick it up because his production has gone up and he's starting to look like the guy they wanted him to be. So 18 mil for a receiver is chump change.
I agree. I think they pick it up. I mean, he's pretty much, he's not outstanding to me. He's never going to be a number one. He's that guy who's going to catch 55 passes, 7, maybe 800 yards a season, but he is a red zone threat. He will get you, 7, 8, 9 touchdowns in a season. So I think they pick it up.
He's shown to be a decent deep threat too.
Yeah, I think they pick it up.
This is funny though because we got 4 receivers in a row, starting with JSN, who's remember just looking at what their 5th-year options would have been worth. So 23.85 was JSN. Quentin Johnson's 18 million. The next guy on the list is Dave Flowers at number 22 with the Ravens. They've already said they're going to exercise this 5th-year option. Here's the thing. 27.3 mil. His 5th-year option is worth more than JSN. Interesting.
Well,
That's how important Zay Flowers has been to the Baltimore Ravens.
yeah, I mean JSN's contract, I think it doesn't average out to like 42 mil a year or something like that.
Something like that. Yeah. I think
Yeah.
Zay Flowers might be in the same boat.
Yeah, I mean Zay Flowers, I mean he's gotten better every season, in my opinion.
Joe, I'm not going to try to skip you. I'm going to go with you first on this one because the 4th receiver, talk about value in the late part of the draft. We're talking, this is all, JSN was at 20. This next receiver was at 23. Jordan Addison with the Vikings, $18 million 5th-year option to be exercised. They're going to exercise it, Joe. I mean, these 4 guys, all of them, I think, value, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I just want to say I think 27 mil for Zay Flowers is a little bit much. Like I don't think that he's a bad player. I think like Broski said, I think he's gotten better each year, but he kind of has Baltimore over a barrel because he's their best receiver. Like I don't see him as being worth 27-30 million dollars a year, but the market is what it is. And so but
yeah, that's not a bad deal for a number 1 wide receiver, though.
Yeah, no, that's why I said the market is what it is. But I just think for me, on the scale of number 1s, he's on the lower end of number 1s.
I mean, if you look at remember the criteria I read off at the beginning of this.
He's had some fumble issues too, which
he's earned though by criteria that bigger number. By criteria, he earned that bigger number
because he played all the snaps and he's part of an elite offense that is
yeah.
He's got the accolades, and 27 is better than 42. Like they're gonna have to sign him long term eventually, right? So
well, here's the thing though: Zay Flowers at 27, Jordan Addison at only 18. You figure Jordan Addison is going to get more than 18 mil in an extension with the Vikings, right? You would think that he's probably looking to get 25 to 28 mil, maybe even 30, right? And that is part of that duo. That's where it gets interesting. These late round guys, Jordan Addison, 18 million, they're going to exercise because it'd be stupid not to, right? I mean, but this part of the draft, that 20 through 23, Bears fans perk up because we're not far off from drafting this position this year. Some great value at this point in the draft. And then when we go to number 24, this is where this one could be questionable. Deonte Banks for the Giants at number 24 in the first round corner, 12.63 million. Not too shabby compared to some of the other corners out there. But he's kind of in the Manuel Forbes range, money-wise. What do you think, Joe, on Banks for the Giants at 24? Is that a miss?
I don't know. I'd like to hear what you and Broski think about it.
I'm going to use the same theory I used with that cornerback on the Redskins. I haven't heard his name in 3 seasons. I'm going to punt on that. I'm going to punt.
I think I'm going to punt too with the big rebuild they've had there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The next one's interesting, and it's going to be exercised, and I think it might be a little bit of a steal for them. The Buffalo Bills at 25, Dalton Kincaid, 8.16 mil is a 5th-year option. He came in. They already had a really good tight end, and he became the number 1 tight end. And now they have 2 really good tight ends. Chicago fans perk up and listen because it's kind of like what the Bears did, except we used a much higher draft pick to get Colson Loveland. But they already had a really good tight end there in Knox. And then they got Kincaid, and Kincaid is number 1. And they're obviously for $8 million going to exercise it.
Yep, that's a slam dunk.
That's a slam dunk.
You're running to the bank on that one.
Now, I'm wondering, though, if I'm Dalton Kincaid, I'm looking for an extension. I wonder how much this extension will be worth, and maybe that would be a good topic down the road because they are getting a steal. At 26, defensive tackle for the New York Jets, Mazi Smith at $13.93 million. This one's interesting to me because they're in this rebuild mode. He might get picked up as a transitional guy as they look as depth as whatnot. Otherwise, I mean, another guy who you haven't heard his name in 3 years.
He was highly touted coming out of college, and the Cowboys traded him on his rookie deal. That should tell you like part of what you need to know. Like, the Cowboys are the ones who originally drafted him, and now he's a Jet, and he's not even hit his 5th-year option yet. Like now he's hitting his 5th-year option. The Jets are so depleted though. Like I think they'll probably pick it up just because they need the bodies. But
And then actually, no, he might. I think they might not pick it up because they could probably get him for cheaper.
maybe.
Maybe a little cheaper there, bro.
What do you think, Broski?
Yeah, I honestly think that they're not going to pick it up.
All right, we're getting close to the end here. This one is going to be easy because the Jacksonville Jaguars, the Duval/Orlando Jaguars, and I'll explain that in a minute. Have already said they're going to pick up the option of right tackle Anton Harrison, whose 5th-year option is going to be $19.07 million for the 2027 season, not this season, but next. The Jacksonville Jaguars will play their regular season games in Orlando, announced yesterday, as they finish off the new stadium there, the stadium stuff they're going to be doing in Jacksonville. So Orlando will finally get NFL football for a full season. They wanted it forever. That's why they moved the Pro Bowl there, was to gauge the interest of Orlando. For every other league that's ever popped up, Orlando's always seemed to have a team, and they've always seemed to support the team well. But the Jags they're calling it Duval in Orlando for the 27 season. And they are picking up the option on Anton Harris, so he'll get to play that season in Orlando.
Yeah, I can just say this. I think the people in Orlando are going to board their windows when that Duval crowd comes to town.
Yeah, they will. Broski, I'll go to you to start this one. The Bengals. This is another interesting one. Defensive end Myles Murphy.
Yeah, punt. We're going to bring out the punt team.
Well, are we punting, Joe? Are you punting on Myles Murphy as well?
Yeah, I think so.
All right, maybe we'll be punting on this next guy too. Defensive tackle for the Saints, Brian Breezy, $13.93 million. I think they're punting on him too.
Yeah, I think Brian Breezy might be blowing in the wind after this season here. I'm not sure. The one thing I will say about him is he does generate some pass rush as a defensive tackle, so that might be what saves him. I believe he is a starter, so that one might be more of a coin flip, actually.
I think they'll pick it up just because defensive tackles in this league aren't cheap, especially starting defensive tackles, and 13 is not bad for a guy that's going to be your starting DT.
Well, for Breezy, let's call it 14. 13.93, let's call it 14. Right? I mean, yeah, price-wise isn't bad. He might make it through. They might try to do an extension where it's like 3 years over for $45 million or 3 years at 40 or something where, it's close or a little bit less for him. The next one's going to be interesting. Is another Eagles pick, defensive end Nolan Smith, and his is worth $13.75 million. Once again, a hard one to judge. And the Eagles are kind of weird with how they do things. He's relatively cheap for defensive end right now. In fact, I'm going to link him up with the Chiefs because they're both making the same 2 defensive ends to finish out the first round. Nolan Smith for the Eagles and Felix Uzoma at $13.75 million, both at defensive end. I don't know if either of these guys get retained, Broski, or at least get picked up on a 5th year.
Nolan Smith, it's a tough one. I don't. He had one good season a couple of years ago, and that's really all he's done. He's kind of lost a lot of flash. That being said, I still think they'll run with him and probably pick it up.
The Eagles, they like to have depth on that defensive line, so I could see him picking it up. It's not unreasonable for a defensive end, but
it's interesting. We have a month to go let me see how many have been exercised. Let me do this real quick. Bear with me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 of the 31 have already been picked up or extended. So about a third of that draft class has already been picked up or extended. Dude, you're almost at your hit rate for the first round overall. And we kind of said, hey, look, there are a couple other guys who are going to they haven't announced yet. We think they might get picked up. But considering that a third of this draft class has already been announced or extended, that they're going to pick up the option or they've already extended them. Not a bad draft class. Not a bad
Overall, yeah. I mean, for one that was, lacking high end talent, especially at quarterback, I mean, pretty solid top to bottom, actually.
Next
Yeah.
year's now, bookmark this for next year. We do this show next year. Now we're talking Caleb and Bo and all these guys are coming up next year. That's gonna be a fun draft class.
Yep.
The Bears, it's gonna be a very expensive draft class because you're gonna have Caleb and Rome to deal with. And it'll be interesting to see what their numbers are. Some of the numbers we're telling on these guys, right? Some of the numbers look at kind of like if you look at the numbers of positionally what guys are getting, and you're looking at a guy with who got picked up at 19 or something, and their fifth year option number is higher than your guy who got picked at 4, right? And you're like, ooh, or maybe that's a bad one. Let me see, all the wide receivers went late. Let me see, like Skoronski at guard and others, he was the only guard. But if you're looking like Jack Campbell, he's only linebacker. Jeez. Defensive ends, defensive tackles. Okay, you guys need to get what I'm saying though, right? Like you look at what your guy's fifth year number is versus a guy at the similar position you got picked. Okay, the best one, running back, Bijan and Jameer. Huge difference in number, right? Huge difference in number. We're talking over $3 million a year difference in number. Bijan, obviously wasn't as good as a pickup maybe as Jameer Gibbs so far in this league. Those are some interesting looks like that. Yeah, I mean, so some guys like we get high on them as a fan, like, oh, I really like Bijan, but then you look at his fifth year number based on what he's done compared to like a guy like Jameer or maybe some other running backs, and you realize, ooh, maybe he wasn't as good as the pick. Now Bijan's not great because we know he's probably gonna get retained, but there's always that guy on our team, be it a left tackle, a guard, or whoever, where we don't pick up the fifth year option, we go, what? And then when you look back at what that fifth year option number would be, you're like, oh, well, kind of makes sense then because maybe he wasn't as good as my brain as a fan was telling me he was, and I'm just fanboying out on my team. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but I think Bijan, I'm actually surprised that Gibbs is worth more than Bijan. Like, I mean, I'm not in the sense that like the Lions have had a superior offensive line, so Gibbs's production has been excellent, but Bijan has been their workhorse and he's made Pro Bowls too. Like, I'm surprised that Bijan is his number is less considering his number of carries because I think when it comes to carries, I think he's got way more than Gibbs.
What surprised me was Dave Flowers being worth more than JSN on that
Or
fifth year
Addison.
option. Or Jordan Addison, 18 million. And that's a great point too. Jordan Addison, who Viking fans will tell you is one of the best wide receivers in the game. Dude, he's the third highest contract of that draft class, tied with another guy, so tied for third. So Jordan Addison, like I expect him to be retained, but the
Yeah.
money might not be as big.
Yeah, it's all hands on deck for the Vikings this year. KOC is trying to save his job. He knows he's on the hot seat. So, yeah, defensively, offensively, I think he wants to keep everybody.
Yeah.
So some interesting looks, guys. Fifth year options. They got till the end of the month, so I'm sure we'll have a couple news days of that. Great show today, guys. We're out of time for the day. Don't forget, I think we might have a Bears show tonight. That's the rumor right here at 7 p.m. Central. JB will be at 8:30 p.m. Central. JB is on after us as well here in about 30 seconds. Gents, thanks for being with me this morning. Guys in the comments, thanks for being in the comments. Great show, and yeah, we all want to spit in Dak's face probably, but hey, that's not going to happen anytime soon. He'd probably kick all our asses too. Have a great day, everyone. We'll see you tomorrow.